The warehouse reeked of blood and cigarette smoke. Kang Doyun stood over a man crumpled on the concrete floor, his knuckles split and bleeding. Around him, 20 men stood frozen, their faces masks of terror. No one moved. No one breathed too loud. This was how it always went when the ghost collected debts. Doyun wiped his hands on a cloth someone nervously offered him, his expression completely empty. The man on the floor whimpered, clutching his ribs. You had 3 months, Doyun said quietly.
I don't give extensions.
His voice was soft, almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. I don't give extensions. Please, I just need 1 more week, I swear. The warehouse doors slammed open. Every head turned. A woman stormed through the crowd of gangsters like she owned the place, her box braids swinging, her face set in pure fury. She was tall, beautiful, and absolutely fearless in a room full of criminals. Yeah! She shouted in perfect Korean, her American accent barely there. Which one of you idiots took money from a college kid? The entire room went silent. Doyun slowly turned, his dark eyes locking onto this stranger who just signed her own death warrant. You're in the wrong place, foreigner, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. The woman, she couldn't be more than 26, walked right up to him, her chin lifted. She looked at the blood on his hands, then back at his face, completely unimpressed. And you're in the wrong tax bracket to be fighting your own battles, she shot back. What are you, short-staffed? She crossed her arms. Anyway, I need $3,000 back. My roommate's an idiot, but that's my rent money. Doyun's men reached for their weapons. He raised one hand, stopping them. For the first time in years, someone genuinely intrigued him. Your roommate signed a contract, he said. A predatory contract with 40% weekly interest that violates Korean financial law codes 5-2 and 8-7. She didn't blink. I can recite the rest if you want, but I'm tired and I have a seminar at 9 a.m. Something flickered across Doyun's face, almost a smile. Almost. You know Korean law? I know you're operating illegally, and I know where this building is. She stepped closer, fearless. So we can do this the easy way, or I can become your most annoying problem. The tension in the room was suffocating. His men waited for the order to remove her, permanently. But Doyun just studied her face, the way she refused to look away, the fire in her dark eyes. Finally, he spoke. What's your name? Zuri James, and you are? Someone you should be afraid of. I'll add you to the list. She held out her hand, palm up. 3,000. Now. For the first time in a decade, Kang Doyun laughed. It was brief, surprised, and genuine. He nodded to one of his men, who scrambled to get the money. You're either very brave or very stupid, Doyun said. I'm a law student in Seoul, Zuri replied, taking the cash. Same thing. She turned and walked out, every eye following her until the doors closed behind her. Min-seok, Doyun's right hand, stepped forward. Boss, should we find out everything about her? Doyun interrupted, his eyes still on the door. Everything. What happens when a law student falls for the very person she's supposed to condemn? When the most dangerous man in Seoul meets the one woman who refuses to fear him? This story is messy, forbidden, and completely unavoidable. Watch till the end to see how far love will go when it's built on everything it shouldn't be. And if you're ready for this ride, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. 3 days later, Doyun sat in his penthouse office, reading a file. Zuri James, 26, Seoul National University Law School, top of her class. Thesis topic: The Evolution of Organized Crime Prosecution in Modern Korea. He stopped reading. Read it again. She's researching what? He asked Min-seok. Organized crime. She's been interviewing retired prosecutors, pulling old case files. Minsok shifted uncomfortably. Boss, she's connected dots on the Park Syndicate case from 2019. If she keeps digging, she'll find the university donations. Doyun finished. His money laundering operation ran through educational institution funding. Brilliant, untraceable, until now. He should eliminate the threat. That's what the old Doyun would do. Instead, he said, make a donation to SNU Law School, 200 million won. Anonymous. Boss? If she's going to research me, I might as well fund it. He closed the file. And find out where she studies. Seoul National University's law library was quiet at 11 p.m. Zuri sat surrounded by case files, her laptop open, 3 empty coffee cups beside her. She was so focused she didn't notice him until he sat down across from her. She looked up and froze. Kang Doyun sat there in an expensive black suit, looking completely out of place among students and textbooks. He had a book in his hand, one of her research materials. Stalking is also illegal, you know, Zuri said, recovering quickly. Your thesis could be dangerous, he replied calmly. Only if someone has something to hide. She leaned back, studying him. Do you? Everyone has something to hide. That's what makes people interesting. She closed her laptop. The question is whether what you're hiding is worth protecting, or just cowardice. No one talked to him like this. No one questioned his morality. They just feared him. You don't know anything about me, Doyun said quietly. I know you could have killed me 3 days ago and didn't. Zuri tilted her head. I know you gave me the money without any real fight. And I know you're here now instead of sending your men. So either you're planning something or you're curious. Which is it? He didn't answer. Couldn't, because she was right. Why law? He asked instead. Why crime? She countered. I asked first. Zuri sighed, some of her fire dimming. Because I thought I could make a difference. Change things. Naive, right? Idealistic, he corrected. Not the same thing. What about you? Why this life? Doyun stood straightening his suit. Because some of us don't get to choose. He walked away, leaving her with more questions than answers, but he came back. 2 days later, Zuri was at her usual coffee shop, fighting with a particularly dense legal text written in formal Korean. She was muttering to herself in English, frustrated, when someone sat down across from her. You're reading it wrong, Doyun said in perfect American accented English. Zuri's head snapped up. You speak English? Stanford Law, class of 2015. He reached over, turned her book, and pointed to a passage. The syntax is archaic. You're translating it too literally. It's actually saying the opposite of what you think. He explained it clearly, precisely, like he'd done this 1,000 times. Zuri listened, genuinely surprised. You have a law degree from Stanford, she said slowly. And you're a loan shark? I prefer the term financial alternative specialist. That almost smile again. And I never practiced. Found a different application for the knowledge. You mean you use it to avoid prosecution? I mean, I understand the system well enough to operate within its gaps. Zuri should have been disgusted. Should have walked away. Instead, she laughed. Actually laughed at the absurdity of it. Doyun looked genuinely surprised. What? You're so matter-of-fact about it. Like you're explaining a business model, not a criminal enterprise. Isn't that what it is? She shook her head, still smiling. You're something else, Kang Doyun. He bought her coffee. They talked for an hour. About law, about Seoul, about everything except what he actually did. When Zuri finally left, she felt lighter somehow. Less alone in this foreign city. Doyun watched her go, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Dangerous. A week passed. Then another. Doyun kept showing up. At her coffee shop. At the library. outside her lecture hall, never threatening, just there. His presence became familiar, almost comfortable. Zuri told herself she should be scared, should report him, should do anything except look forward to seeing him. But she did look forward to it, and that terrified her more than any crime he'd committed. One night she left the library at midnight. The streets were empty, quiet except for the distant hum of traffic. She was halfway home when 3 drunk men stumbled out of a bar blocking her path. "Hey, pretty girl," one slurred in Korean. "American? You speak Korean?" Zuri's stomach tightened. "Excuse me," she said firmly, trying to walk around them. One grabbed her arm. "Don't be rude, we just want to talk." He never finished the sentence. Doyun appeared from the shadows like a ghost, his hand gripping the man's wrist so hard Zuri heard bones crack. 2 of Doyun's men materialized behind him, already restraining the other 2 drunks. "Let her go," Doyun said quietly. His voice was ice. The man released Zuri immediately, his face white with terror. He recognized the ghost. "We didn't know. We're sorry, please. Leave." Doyun didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. "If I see you on this street again, you won't walk away." They ran. Zuri stood there, heart pounding, as Doyun turned to her. His expression softened immediately, the cold mask falling away. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "I'm fine." She looked around at his men, who were already disappearing back into the shadows. "You've been following me. Seoul isn't safe at night. For me, or for you." She crossed her arms, trying to steady her shaking hands. "You have enemies. I've read enough case files to know how this works. Being around you is more dangerous than drunk men." Doyun stepped closer. "Then why aren't you running?" The question hung between them. Zuri knew she should run, should go back to her safe, predictable life of studying and staying out of trouble. Instead, she said, "Because I'm tired of people who only show me one dimension. Everyone here sees me as the foreign student, the outsider. You're the first person who treats me like I have a brain." She paused. "You're a walking contradiction, Doyun. A criminal with a Stanford law degree. A monster who just protected me without asking for anything. That's way more interesting than safe." Something shifted in his expression. Vulnerability, just for a second, before he controlled it. "You don't know what I've done?" he said quietly. "No, but I know what you didn't do." She held his gaze. "You could have hurt me that first night, could have made me disappear for threatening you. You didn't. Maybe I'm just patient. Maybe you're not the monster you pretend to be." Doyun looked at her like she'd said something impossible, like she'd spoken a language he'd forgotten existed. "I should walk you home," he finally said. "You should stop following me." "I can't do that." "Why not?" He didn't answer, just started walking, and after a moment Zuri followed. The weeks blurred together. Doyun appeared with coffee during her all-nighters, somehow knowing exactly when she needed it. They debated legal theory, argued about justice and morality, challenged each other's worldviews. He made her laugh. She made him human. His men noticed. "Boss, you're distracted," Min-seok said one afternoon during a meeting about a weapons shipment. "The other organizations are watching. They see you with the American girl." "Then they should watch more carefully," Doyun replied coolly. "Make sure no one touches her. She's becoming a liability. She's not your concern." The temperature in the room dropped. "Are we clear?" "Yes, boss." But Min-seok was right. In the criminal underworld, weakness was fatal. And Kang Doyun was falling in love with his biggest weakness. Zuri didn't know about the meetings, the threats, the rival organizations circling like sharks. She only knew that somewhere between coffee and conversation, between late nights and shared secrets, she'd started falling for someone she had no business caring about. She finished her thesis on a Thursday night, sat back, exhausted, and read through it one final time. Then she deleted an entire section. The section that connected university donations to money laundering, the section that traced patterns back to Doyun's organization, the section that would have made her thesis brilliant and destroyed the man she loved. She didn't let herself think about what that meant, just saved the file and submitted it. 2 days later, Doyun appeared at her apartment. He looked different, tense, almost angry. "Why did you bury the trail?" he demanded the moment she opened the door. Zuri's stomach dropped. "How did you—" "I have access to university databases. Why did you remove the connections?" She could lie, should lie. Instead, she said, "Because I'm apparently an idiot who's catching feelings for someone she has no business caring about." Doyun froze in her doorway. "I know what you are," Zuri continued, her voice shaking. "I know what you do. I've read the case files, seen the patterns, traced the money, and somehow my stupid heart decided that the person who shows up with coffee when I'm studying late, who actually listens when I talk about legal theory, who looks at me like I'm the most fascinating thing in the room, that person matters more than the crimes I can't prove. Zuri, I compromised everything I believe in for you." Tears burned her eyes. "My integrity, my thesis, my entire moral code. So don't stand there and ask me why. You know why." Doyun looked shattered, vulnerable, human. "You should stay away from me," he said, his voice rough. "Probably, but you keep showing up. So which one of us is really the idiot here?" He crossed the room in 3 strides and kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, passionate, like he'd been holding back for months. Because he had. They both had. Zuri kissed him back, her hands in his hair, everything she'd been fighting finally breaking free. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Doyun rested his forehead against hers. "This is dangerous," he whispered. "I don't care." "You should." Too late. He kissed her again, softer this time, like she was something precious he didn't deserve to hold. And for that moment, the rest of the world didn't exist, but it came crashing back 2 weeks later. Zuri was leaving campus late, her mind on an upcoming exam, when she noticed the van. Black, tinted windows, following too slowly, her stomach clenched. She walked faster. The van sped up. She ran. They caught her in an alley, 3 men grabbing her before she could scream. A cloth pressed over her mouth. Chemical smell. Darkness closing in. "Doyun's going to kill you," she managed to say, before everything went black. "We're counting on it," someone replied. Zuri woke to pain and cold concrete. Her hands were zip-tied behind her back, blood trickling from a cut above her eyebrow. The warehouse was dark except for a single light above her. A man stepped into the light. Older, scarred, expensive suit. She recognized him from her research, Park Jin-ho, head of a rival organization. "The ghost's little pet," Park said in Korean, circling her. "An American law student. How pathetic." Zuri's head throbbed, but she forced herself to stay focused. "You're about to find out exactly how not pathetic he is." Park laughed, crouching down to her level. "You think he'll come for you? He's smart enough to know it's a trap." "Then you don't know him at all," Zuri said, meeting his eyes with more confidence than she felt. "Maybe not, but I know enough." Park stood, checking his watch. "I know he's gotten soft, distracted, weak. The ghost we feared would have never let a woman compromise him like this." "I didn't compromise anything," Zuri spat. "I made him human." "Same thing in our world, sweetheart." Park gestured to his men. "Get ready. When he comes, and he will, we end this." Zuri's heart hammered against her ribs. She knew Doyun would come. That's what terrified her. Because this wasn't just about her anymore. This was about him walking into death for her. Doyun got the call during a meeting. Unknown number. He answered, already knowing what he'd hear. "We have your girl," Park's voice said. "Sunset Warehouse. Come alone, or she dies screaming." The phone went dead. The room fell silent. Every man there saw Doyun's expression change, the cold mask sliding into place, something deadly rising to the surface. "Boss?" Min-seok started carefully. "It's obviously a trap. We need to plan." "How long to mobilize everyone?" Doyun interrupted, his voice ice. 20 minutes? Maybe 30 if... You have 15. Doyun stood, already moving. "Full weapons. Every man who can hold a gun. I want that warehouse surrounded." "Boss, if we go in hot like this..." Doyun turned and Min-seok actually stepped back. He'd seen the ghost angry before. This was different. This was personal. "Anyone who touched her doesn't leave breathing," Doyun said quietly. "Anyone who stood by and watched doesn't walk again." "And Park?" He smiled, but there was nothing human in it. Park dies, knowing exactly what mistake he made. "Yes, boss." Doyun loaded his gun with mechanical precision, his hands steady despite the rage burning through his veins. He'd built his entire life on control, on being untouchable, on never caring enough about anything to be vulnerable. And then, Zuri James walked into his world and destroyed every wall he'd ever built. If she died because of him, because of what he was, there wouldn't be enough blood in Seoul to balance that scale. The convoy rolled through Seoul's streets, silent and lethal. Doyun sat in the lead car, watching the city blur past. He thought about the first time he saw Zuri, fearless and furious in that fight ring. Thought about her laugh in the coffee shop, the way she challenged him, made him want to be better than what he was. Thought about the fear in her voice when she'd admitted she loved him. "We're 2 minutes out," Min-seok said, pulling Doyun back to the present. "Snipers in position?" "Yes, boss. All exits covered." "Good." Doyun checked his gun one last time. "Remember, Park is mine." Inside the warehouse, Zuri had been moved. They'd dragged her to the center of the space, zip-tied to a metal chair under harsh fluorescent lights. Her ribs ached where one of the guards had kicked her. Her wrists were raw from struggling, but her mind was clear. Calculating. She counted 15 men, all armed. Park stood near the main entrance, confident, waiting. He thought he'd already won. He was wrong. Zuri had seen what Doyun was capable of, had read the case files, heard the stories. The ghost didn't lose, not when it mattered. The question was whether she'd survive what came next. The explosion shook the building. The main doors blew inward in a shower of metal and fire. Gunfire erupted immediately, deafening, chaotic. Park's men scattered, returning fire, shouting commands. And through the smoke and chaos, Doyun walked in like death itself. Zuri had never seen him like this. The man who brought her coffee and debated legal theory was gone. This was the ghost. Cold, efficient, terrifying. He moved through Park's men like they were nothing, each shot precise, each movement calculated. His men poured in behind him, overwhelming the warehouse. The fight was brutal and quick. Park's confidence shattered as he watched his organization crumble in minutes. A guard appeared behind Zuri, gun raised at her head. "Stay back, or she dies." Everything stopped. Doyun froze 10 feet away, his gun trained on the guard. Their eyes met across the warehouse, Zuri's wide with fear, Doyun's burning with something that might have been terror if he was capable of it. "Let her go," Doyun said, his voice deadly quiet. "And I'll make it quick." "Drop your weapon!" the guard shouted, pressing the gun harder against Zuri's temple. Doyun didn't move, didn't blink. Just held Zuri's gaze, and in that moment she saw everything. The love, the fear, the absolute certainty that he would burn the world down for her. "It's okay," Zuri said softly. Just to him, "I'm okay." Something shifted in Doyun's expression. A decision made. The shot came from above, one of his snipers. The guard dropped, dead before he hit the ground. Doyun was already moving, crossing to Zuri in 3 strides. His hands shook as he cut the zip ties, the first real emotion breaking through. "Are you hurt?" His voice cracked on the words. "I'm okay." Zuri's hands were free, and she immediately reached for his face. "I'm okay, I promise." He pulled her up and against him, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. She felt him trembling, felt the fear he'd been holding back. "I thought—" He couldn't finish. "I know." She buried her face in his neck. "But I'm here. I'm right here." "Boss." Minsok's voice cut through. Park's trying to run. Doyun didn't let go of Zuri, just held her tighter for one more moment, like he was convincing himself she was real. Then he pulled back, his hands framing her face. "Stay with Minsok. Don't watch this." "Doyun? Please." His eyes were desperate. "I don't want you to see what I'm about to do." Zuri understood. Nodded. Let him go, even though everything in her screamed to hold on. She didn't watch. But she heard Park's screams, heard the finality of silence. When Doyun came back, there was blood on his hands and emptiness in his eyes. Zuri took his hand anyway, lacing their fingers together. "Let's go home," she said quietly. The penthouse was silent. Doyun stood at the window, still covered in blood, staring at nothing. He hadn't spoken since they left the warehouse. Hadn't looked at her. Zuri approached slowly. "Doyun, you should leave." His voice was hollow. "Pack your things. Go back to America. Forget you ever met me." "No." "Zuri, I almost got you killed." "But you didn't." She moved in front of him, forcing him to look at her. "You saved me. I put you in danger in the first place." His control finally cracked. "This is my world. Violence, death, constant threats. This is what loving me means. You deserve so much better than this. Stop deciding what I deserve." Zuri grabbed his jacket, her own emotions breaking free. "I'm not some naive girl who doesn't understand what this is. I know exactly what you are, what you do, what loving you costs. And I'm still here." "Why?" He looked shattered, desperate. "Why would you stay?" "Because I love you, you idiot." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Because you make me feel seen in a way no one else ever has. Because when you look at me, I'm not the foreign student or the outsider, I'm just Zuri. Because you're brilliant and broken and trying so damn hard to push me away to protect me. But I don't want protection. I want you." Doyun stared at her, something crumbling in his expression. "I love you," Zuri said again, softer. "Even knowing everything, especially knowing everything. So stop trying to be noble and just let me love you." He broke. Doyun pulled her against him, kissing her like she was air and he was drowning. His hands tangled in her hair, gentle despite the violence still coursing through him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered, his voice raw. "God, Zuri, I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good." She smiled through her tears. "Because I'm terrified too." They stood there, holding each other, 2 broken people finding something whole in the wreckage. That night, they didn't talk about consequences or the future. They just existed together. Zuri curled against Doyun's chest, his arms wrapped around her like he was afraid she'd disappear. "I've never felt safe before," he admitted into the darkness. "Not since I was a kid. But with you, you make me feel like maybe I could be someone other than the ghost." "You already are," Zuri murmured. "You've always been more than that." He kissed the top of her head, and for the first time in his life, Kang Doyun fell asleep feeling something other than alone. But morning brought reality crashing back. 3 weeks later, Doyun stood at his penthouse windows watching Seoul wake up. His phone had been buzzing all morning, messages he was ignoring. Zuri emerged from the bedroom, already dressed, keys in hand. She'd moved in without either of them really discussing it. After the warehouse, neither could stand being apart. "Your lawyer called," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "The prosecutor's office opened an investigation into the university donations." Doyun didn't turn around. "I know. They're pulling financial records, going back 5 years." She moved closer. "Doyun, they're building a case." "I know. This is the part where you run, isn't it?" Her voice cracked slightly. "Disappear. Leave the country. Whatever it is people like you do when the walls close in." "That's what I should do," he said quietly. Zuri wrapped her arms around herself, trying to hold together. "When?" He finally turned, and the look on his face stopped her breath. "I don't know if I can," Doyun admitted. "I've spent my whole life being untouchable, building walls, never letting anyone in. And then you..." He stopped, struggling. "You walked into that fight ring and treated me like I was just a person. Not the ghost. Not a monster. Just Doyun." Tears burned Zuri's eyes. "You are just a person. A person who's dragged you into hell." He crossed to her, his hands gentle on her face. "A person whose world is closing in. Zuri, if I stay, this gets worse. The investigation, the rival organizations, all of it. You'll be caught in the crossfire." "Then leave," Zuri whispered, even though the words destroyed her. "If that's what you need to do, I understand." "You understand?" Doyun's laugh was broken. "I don't think you do. Because if I leave, I spend the rest of my life wondering what we could have been. And if I stay, I watch you pay for loving someone like me." "So what do we do?" The question hung between them, heavy with impossible choices. Doyun pulled her close, breathing her in. "I don't want to run anymore. I'm tired of being the ghost. Tired of living in the shadows." He pulled back, meeting her eyes. "But I need to know. If I stay, if I fight this, if we try to build something real, are you with me? Knowing it might all fall apart?" Zuri didn't hesitate. "I didn't survive moving across the world, learning a new language, and falling for Seoul's most dangerous criminal just to give up now. Whatever comes next, we face it together. The investigation could destroy everything. Then I guess I better finish that law degree. Might need a good lawyer." He almost smiled. "Almost." "You're insane." "Probably. But so are you for loving me back." They stood together at the window, watching Seoul stretch out below them. Doyun's phone buzzed again. Another threat. Another complication. He silenced it. For the first time in his life, Kang Doyun chose something besides survival. He chose hope. Chose love. Chose the terrifying possibility that maybe he could be more than what he'd always been. "What happens now?" Zuri asked softly. "Now?" Doyun laced their fingers together. "Now we figure out how to live instead of just survive." The future was uncertain, dangerous, complicated. The investigation loomed, enemies circled. Nothing was guaranteed, but they'd face it together. And somehow, that was enough. Some stories don't end clean. Some loves are worth the chaos. This is one of them. So what happens next? Will Doyun survive the investigation? Can their love withstand the consequences? Will the ghost finally step into the light? Or will the darkness pull him back? Comment below if you want part 2, because trust me, this story is just beginning. The prosecutor has evidence. Rival organizations want revenge. And Zuri's about to discover that loving Seoul's most dangerous man means becoming dangerous herself. Hit that like button, subscribe for more Afro-Korean stories that'll wreck you in the best way, and share this with someone who believes love is worth fighting for. Turn on notifications because part 2 is going to change everything. When the ghost falls in love, the entire underworld trembles. And Zuri James is about to find out what happens when you teach a monster to feel.